Hi everyone, it's Ann Huffman. I want to show you in this tutorial how to trace an image with thin lines in it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I always like to say is that I have Silhouette, the business edition, and I'm working off of the release, or as we call it, version 4.1.201. And that is the newest version of Silhouette Studios. What I'm going to show you though works in any of the versions and also works with the basic edition. So just want to let you know what I'm working with because I'm sure my screen may look a little bit different from yours. So let's just move this title on up here and out of our way. Actually, more over to the side. Those of you that follow my tutorials know that I always need a lot of room. So what I like to do whenever I bring an image in is to enlarge it as big as I can get it before it starts to pixelate. And the best way to avoid that is to get a high resolution image. Well, as you can see, these lines are very thin, and let me zoom in to an area and show you that when you get images like this and the lines are thin, the first thing you need to do is to determine what you're working with. Now I see that I have a gap from here to here, from here to here. So I already know that when I complete tracing it, it's not going to fill in because there's a gap that's there. So let's zoom back out, and I'm just scrolling and looking to see where else I'm going to have some issues at. And I'm pretty sure with some of the hair on these bedroom slippers. So let me just click in here and see. Didn't mean to get that large in there, but I can see that there's a gap right there that's going on. Possibly one right there. Just zoom out, that was a bit too much with it. But at any rate, if there's a gap that's there, if the line isn't closed, you're going to have issues. But since this is already thin, I've already prepared myself that it's going to take me a little extra time. Once more and come up some. I never get this right after I use this darn thing. Okay, maybe it'll catch up to me at some point. So I already know that I've got some areas that I'm going to work with, and I've said in my mind, I know it's going to take me longer than usual in tracing this, but this is something that I absolutely love and that I want to trace. So I know I've got these areas here, possibly the shoes. I'm going to go ahead and close the area in her eyes so that I have that closed in as well. And that's just a quirkiness with me. Oh, and you can see right here that there's something that's missing, a gap there as well. So we've got a lot to work on, and I picked her because I liked her, but also because I know that she's going to give me some headaches, and you may come across design like this as well. So the first thing that we want to do, I'm just going to click on this select tool to kind of deselect where I was at, is let's trace her. So I'm going to select the trace icon, click on select trace area, and I'm going to trace her. And that's what I get initially at the default, but I'm going to use the slider and make these numbers get a little higher here so that I know that I've gotten kind of sort of all of her. Didn't want that much. Let me use the arrow down keys. I'm not the best with that slider. Is it going to catch up with me, or am I too far ahead of it? I figured that. I think I was safe somewhere around the 90 mark. And I'm looking down here at the whiskers to see where I am. Everything else looks good. So I'm going to see if I can squeeze two more out of it. Okay, and I got it. So now I'll select trace. And I'll pull my original over here to the side. Of course, I never get rid of my original until I'm satisfied with my trace. So I'm going to close this trace out now, and let's just go ahead and fill it with some color. And of course, it's going to take this color now, but when I go to my next step of breaking it apart, which is release compound path, that really tells a story. So right now it looks pretty good. So we could say, oh, okay, well, we didn't do too bad of a job with her. But if I right click on it and I select release compound path, which in essence is saying break all of these into tiny pieces so that I can layer them, because that's what I want to do with this. It's not going to be a print and cut, or it's not going to be something that's a single layer that I just want in black and white. I actually want to layer her. So now when I select that, you're going to see the areas that the lines are not closed in will remain white. Everything else will be black. And I knew one part of her slippers. I knew this jacket because of that area there. And I think I mentioned something up here was going to remain white. So this is what happens with her. So the best thing for me to do, since I've identified those, is I'm going to click the undo, and I'm going to click on the line, and I'm going to try to thicken the lines up to see if it will close in some of these little gaps for me. If not, I'll go to plan B. So I'm not going to use this slider. You can use it. It just doesn't work for me, hand-eye coordination. So I'm going to instead use this. And I'm just thickening up these lines. And I notice that the eyelashes get thicker. Some of the rolls in there gets thicker. And so let me reduce it just a little bit. Maybe I have to wait and let it catch up with me. See, it went down too far. Thinking that's good. Okay, so I'm going to leave that where it is. It didn't really fill in anything, I don't think. Maybe the shoes. Let me right click and let's just find out. Nope, it really didn't. But it did thicken the lines up for me, so that's a good thing that will help when I get ready to cut. So um, I'm I'll leave this up, just sort of move it over here out of my way, and now I have to zoom in. Um, this shoulder area, so I'm just going to click here to magnify just a particular area with it. So I'm going to go here and click on my pen tool, and I'm going to draw a line from here to here, and from here to here. Actually, I never was good in coloring in the lines in school, so we'll say from here to here. And what I'm going to do is go back and click on the select tool. I'm going to click the first one, hold my shift key down, and click the other one so both my lines are selected. And now I'm going to, I can leave them as red. It really isn't going to matter because it's print and cut. I mean, since it's going to be layered. But let's thicken them up now. And I'm going to leave them as red just to help my eyes to be able to. I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard. And let me use this rotate. So I must. Thought I had the rotate. So just to rotate that around a little there. And now I'll give it black color. I wish it was so that I could just click on this one, hold both of them down, and then click on the image itself. I don't know if I should have left it red, and that's what I'm going to do. Let me turn it red because I'm going to try and see if I can weld it. It did not work for me before, and I had to call support to try and get it to weld. And it seems like I'm losing one of these when I do it. Let me zoom out and see what I've got going on here. I have both of those. Okay, so now let me see if I can weld it. And it doesn't. And when he tried it, he meaning uh, maybe since it's going to have silhouette support, it didn't weld for him either. Oh, wow. Nope. As you can tell, those two pieces are right there. So all of those theatrics for nothing. So it didn't well. But that's okay. I was just hoping that it would have. Life would have been good for me had it welded. Um, but now let's see where there's a gap somewhere down here. And I don't remember where it is, but it's something in here right there. So let's use this pencil tool again. Close that in. That is the worst line. Make sure your lines look better than mine. Go back here. Click. Back to line. Just making it thicker. Make it black. Let's zoom out. Once more. I think those were my only two areas. And so now what I'm going to do, the whole purpose of doing all of that is I'm going to right click and group it, and I'm going to trace it once more because now those lines are filled in. So we'll go right back, select our trace area. My lines are thicker, so I've got a much better trace going on. Oh, I forgot her eyes on the inside. I forgot about them. Okay, I have to fix that later. Okay, so this is my trace, new trace there. Slide it over here. Go back and get this one. I knew that was going to happen. So now let's get her back and let's get some color going. Line color. And now I think I've closed the gap in the shoe. I should not have anything that's white, but I meant to come back and close in her eyes, but that's on me. Now it's all black. So now we'll be able to click on each individual piece and give it a color and be able to trace her. I'm just going to undo this, and I can delete this one, and I'm going to go ahead and end this tutorial because I was very successful in getting exactly what I wanted, which was tracing an image with a thin line. I showed you how to thicken the line up, and I showed you how to fill in those gaps in there. And now it would just be a matter of clicking on each individual piece and giving it some color that I want to layer. But I'm going to go ahead and close her eyes in there. So if you have any questions at all, please post them in the video. I hope this was helpful to someone.